Awaken Beauties, finally, it's here. The truth to empower women to true inner beauty through a healthy mind and inner biology. I am your hostess, Cassandra Keogh, a 20-year salon owner, organic beauty product formulator, positive mind management, and clinical hypnotherapist. And I am here to help you stay sane, get sleep, and bring your sexy back. Sponsored by evoquebeauty.com. evoquebeauty.com. Now, let's get to it. Welcome to the Awaken Beauty podcast. This is Cassandra, your clinical hypnotherapist, neuroenergetic ADHD coach, and biofeedback practitioner. Now, no matter where we meet today, whether you've listened to other episodes on ADHD, being empathic, or just being very highly tuned to your sensitive nature around energy, today is going to be specifically special for you to really tap into and to listen with all aspects of your heart and your awareness, and remembering that our awareness is really that inner awareness. We are just the observers of this life. And sometimes we can step in and we can, quote unquote, use our will, our control, but sometimes it ends up down the line of perfectionism. And someone that believes that everything starts with energy, which is the pure truth of universal law, is that when we move into such contraction, we are in that lower chakra, that first chakra, and it is pure and simple. It is the need to feel safe. And so when we frame it up that way, I wanted to bring into today's conversation around perfectionism. And we previously have discussed procrastination and what I call precrastination. And this moves swiftly into perfectionism, which I find so many women, especially empaths and very sensitive types, which then move into the identity of type A personality. But really underlying this, we have this neurological system and this nervous system that keeps us a little bit more contracted, but also even more emotionally intensive in our daily experiences and how we experience the world. So as we move in and we lean into perfectionism, just come up to the high view and not in a judgmental place, but just really see it for what it is. And starting with a quote is, the worst thing about being a perfectionist is that everything you do might look amazing in someone else's eyes, but in your heart, you are never, ever truly satisfied. And so to frame that up, perfectionism, having ADHD, being an empath or a sensitivity type, life can feel very painful. And a huge and frequent source of procrastination, especially for ADHD, empaths, or any of these types that I'm talking about, is perfectionism. Now, a perfectionist prejudges the outcome or the result before they start to take action. They want to hit that home run every single time, and anything less would be considered a failure. So perfectionism like this is really, truly nasty. It's not self-love. And it can be very, very hard to overcome if you don't have the right perspective. But that's what we're here to just bring awareness to. And there is a path out. So, often I say that perfectionism really is about paralysis. Paralysis to the progress that you're in. And, I also want to say done is better than perfect. And I'm sure that you've heard that many times before. So I really want to encourage my clients and you to strive for excellence, to strive for what is reachable, for that next thing. And as ADDers, we really don't see ourselves as perfectionists. That's why it's a blind spot that many of us maybe don't affinitize with, but see it in others. And so a lot of clients or women that I work with complain about being procrastinators, but they don't really own that they're actually highly on the level and spectrum of being perfectionists. And ADHD individuals will often say that they are the furthest thing from being a perfectionist. I know I did for so many years. And now that I look back and I see the way that I move through my day and how I can get caught is really so aware now that I can really see it when it's coming in, and I grab that support that I need to pull me out or able to self-regulate. So we really can't see our perfectionism. They can't see their perfectionism. You maybe don't see your perfectionism in yourself, but it means that we don't really understand what perfectionism really is. So perfectionism is all or nothing. It's black and white thinking, my friends. It's troubling cognitive distortion. It is an absolute thinking trap that gives most humans big problems. So, for example, is the way that you either load the dishwasher or think about watching a family member load the dishwasher, or how you fold the clothes only the right way. If so, then you're probably caught in perfectionistic thinking. Or here's another example. So, do you believe that the only way to read a book is starting from page 1 and reading it to the end? Very linear. You can't possibly go to the end of the chapter and read the footnotes or start at chapter 4. So, who said that's the only way to read a book? And this might be an example of perfectionism that you took on from maybe your childhood school days or from college, and you never even thought to challenge it. So this all or nothing thinking is very pervasive in our neural patterns. So perfectionism is an ability or unwillingness to shift from that initial idea that you've come up with, or that thing that you need to do for today, or that big dream project that you so fervently feel in your bones and want to do, or a way of doing something that keeps a person from taking action. So it's the inability to shift from that initial idea to taking action. And you can literally feel like you must create the perfect plan before you can start, or that you need to know everything beyond a shadow of a doubt before you can get started. It has to be perfect. Now, the only problem is that perfection doesn't exist. And we sometimes say that perfectionists is arguing with reality because they won't accept excellence, which is actually achievable. So a perfectionist may impulsively set an unrealistic goal or outcome and inadvertently set themselves up for failure. So without pausing to consider options, they may knock themselves, create something that isn't even what somebody wanted them to do in the first place, what they should have been doing in the first place, and knock themselves out of the game, all to begin with. Now, it can be a form of procrastination. Remember, we've talked about that, so that you don't get started, or that because you don't know how to get started, or if you're not really sure you even want to do it in the first place, so you create it bigger and you can't get started. And so if an ADHDer impulsively locks on to only one way of doing something, it can be really difficult to even get them or yourself to consider other options. So the person that you're working with, or you yourself, can feel that contraction in your energy and in your body, and you push back and you refuse to consider other options at all. Sometimes you may burst out and get really pissed off, or you may notice it in another person. if somebody proposes a different idea or that there's another way of doing something. The inability to shift, to be flexible in the mind, or even hear others' options can last quite a while for some people until they start to recognize this pattern. So, this perfectionism and perfectionists are often maximizers who demand only the best or nothing, which can also lead to lifelong unhappiness, or it may cause them to wait and do without something, sometimes indefinitely, because there's always going to be a newer, a better, more bells, more whistles, more bright and shiny objects to the next big thing that's going to be the perfect thing that will come along. Raise your hand if you're guilty. I absolutely am guilty of this. So when we have this perfectionistic thinking, this needs or requirement of this linear order, that there's only one right way, it's a kind of thinking that causes us to sound rigid, or maybe even be too much of a know-it-all, or you're too moralistic. Now, many perfectionists manifest their perfectionism in oppositional behavior. It comes out in defensiveness, in being really stubborn, or indignation of what your point is, who you need to be, what you need to do, how you see it. Nobody else can do things right, so I have to do it all myself, right? Have you ever said or heard someone say that before? We often hear that outside of our own voice, coming out of our body, as well as in friends, or maybe an ADHD spouse or child. So, can we grow out of perfectionism? Can we become aware and shift out of this black or white thinking? And this black or white thinking is actually something we all start out with, believe it or not. So think back when you were a child. Think back to when your mom put your dinner on your plate and dinner was absolutely ruined. You had a hissy fit because your peas touched the damn potatoes. Who's laughing right now? Right? I think back to pizza. Like, you can only have cheese pizza if there's a couple pepperonis on there. That's cool. But if you got all that other crap on there, like black olives and a bunch of things that just do not belong on cheese pizza, it is ruined. I cannot even taste a thought of having a green pepper or a piece of some kind of meat on my pizza. Remember that as a child? We develop over time to learn that there are many, many ways, my friends, that we can be, and that it doesn't have to be only one way. So it's only when we begin to see the shades of gray and yellow and blue and orange and pink, smell the different varieties of flowers, that we can start considering that we can compromise this way of thinking, or that there's a different way, or that you can lean back into that energetic of awareness. Remember, we are awareness, and just start to observe it. Now, some of us stay stuck in thinking this way. And a part of the reason might be because of our strength of our feelings. Now, this goes back to being an empath, or if you lean on the HSP, where you're highly sensitive. And so when you feel or believe that you must do some task in a perfect way, it will exasperate your ADHD challenges and only ignite that procrastination to step back in. So you just don't want to move, right? Analysis paralysis, or you feel just stuck in your body. So it is often impossible to get started when we are focused on an unrealistic and essentially non-existent option, or stuck in our feeling. So in the physical world, my friends, there is no perfect plan with perfect results. There's no such thing. That's the beauty of being a creator. You are the creator. And we have to do just enough planning to get started, to create the vision. With no vision, there is no action. And we can learn how to get better results when we start moving. So since there is no such thing as a perfect plan, what's the worst thing that could happen if you took a little bit of action? So here's a quote. I love this quote by Paulo Coelho. And it says, it was my fear of failure that first kept me from attempting the master of my work. And now I'm beginning what I could have started 10 years ago. But I'm grateful and I'm happy, at least, that I didn't wait 20 years. So just take that in, no shame, no guilt. But what can we start to just soften the edges of that rigidity into momentum and fluidity and possibility? So when you must do anything with an expectation of it being perfect, it will only serve to exasperate your sensitivities, your empathic, your intuition goes down, your ADHD challenges go up, and it ignites that procrastination. And it also actually, my friends, it actually misdirects your attention in too many different disconnected directions, because you start focusing on all the tasks on your to-do list. And unfortunately, the important ones you need to do get lost in the weeds. So I wanted to just bring, I'm a nerd and I'm a research junkie. So I wanted to just kind of bring an aspect here from research from Dr. Russell Ramsey. He did a paper and published it in 2016 about the research and the relationship between cognitive distortions, ADHD, anxiety, depression, and hopelessness. And these results indicated a significant correlation between self-reported cognitive distortions and ADHD. So the perfectionism emerged as the most frequently reported cognitive distortion for ADDers. And there has been earlier research suggesting a relationship between maladaptive perfectionism and problem-solving deficits, which includes, again, going back to executive function, which would be absolutely consistent with the organization and problem solving as one of the main executive function domains assessed in adults with ADHD. So this is validated, my friends. So among adults with ADHD, these cognitive distortions related to perfectionism most likely co-occur with persistent task avoidance stemming from the deficits in task-related problem-solving skills. So this suggests that this ADHD type of perfectionism may manifest itself as an individual stating the need to be perfectly ready before engaging in a task. So falling short of that person or your ideal state of readiness can absolutely spin all the way down to the bottom of the hill into rationalized procrastination. And so I find it so interesting because the findings of this perfectionism was the most commonly endorsed cognitive distortion category in ADHD. It's 55%. And I really want to emphasize what Dr. Ramsey's definition of perfectionism is. And it's as needing to feel perfectly right in order to start. This is why we have a hard time starting things. And we'll go on another episode on why we incomplete things, but that's another conversation. So this brings in our intense ADHD emotions in a really big way. And when ADDers say walk through, just getting started on something or telling us that, that we just need to get started, it's completely like throwing a wall in our face, literally like a solid brick wall. It's totally impossible for us to even consider getting started. There is a brick wall standing in front of us. We can't go. So we don't even think to challenge the feeling. We're not even sure what's for the right mood or not, that we even realize that there's a wall in front of us. It doesn't matter how we feel, how we're thinking, how much sleep we got. It's so intense for us to have it to be perfect before we get started. We don't even realize that there's a wall in front of us, but it feels like that. So if our thought is that the task is going to take, let's say, 4 hours, we don't even have 4 hours. It doesn't even come into our minds to question the statement or the feeling. It just feels totally unthinkable that we could put our toes in the water and start to just move our feet around, or maybe even to then step back from the water, put our sandals on, and just start walking forward. So, for example, for ADDers, when they say something is going to take 4 hours, FYI, it also doesn't occur to them to find 4 hours and actually even find out if they have time for that 4 hours in their schedule, or even to put it on the calendar. So you're starting to link the executive function issue here. Not only does it feel impossible, but I haven't even problem solved how much time it's going to take me. And they just keep waiting for that 4 hours to appear. But when they do take action, and when you take action, you start to realize that the feeling of that brick wall is actually just an absolute thin veil that you can breeze through. It just never occurs to us of that challenging, that intensity of the emotion of that brick wall is right in front of us, actually just dissipates. So I find this just so fascinating, both in my own life, and I'm sure that you're starting to reflect now, that when we tell ourselves that our feelings are just that, a feeling, and invite ourselves to just test it and take that first step forward, we'd be really surprised if we continue to do this and how delighted it would feel to just inch forward. It doesn't matter. It's just one small move that thin veil just, which was disguised as that brick wall, just disappears. Who knew? Right? So then it's just a matter of finding the support and helping us recognize our patterns and the feelings and why the feelings are there, what we're running away and what we're going towards, and making sure that what we're running towards is really essentially what we want, what we desire, right? So I absolutely believe that we can overcome perfectionism. And when you act, you create that learning opportunity that eventually manifests into your success, my friends. Every great vision of every successful scientist, athlete, businesswoman, entrepreneur, architect, they took action, they got started, right? And once you act, you get some kind of result that gives you the information that you need to continue to learn and to take that next step. So setting up any kind of simple experiment to just help you take just some little small action. If this is difficult for you, just set yourself up for success, start taking action, and you will start feeling this in your body, the energy of movement versus contraction. And nothing changes, my friends, until we start to get fluid in our mind, start feeling the essence of that energy, start moving in our body, right? I always think about, when we're in that first chakra, we're always looking for the bed. Where's the bed so we can lay on the bed? Just like a body of ocean of water in the cosmos, right? We're this 3D thing, but we're also floating in this cosmos. And when you realize that the cosmos and the universe is there to support you, and that you are the creator, you are the essence of a part of it, you can actually just lay your back on the water and just start to feel the fluidity, right? You don't drown by falling into the water. You drown by staying in the water and doing nothing. So if you fall into the ocean and want to keep from drowning, you must rise to the surface, my friends, either by starting to swim or just learning to float. So a really good way to end this little conversation that we're having between each other in the field, out in the biofield, which I love so much, because we are all connected, my friends, is state work, energetic work. And a really great way to do this is to turn on music, to start shifting that mind getting that binaural beat of whatever that music is in the left and the right hemisphere, and to start moving you. So when I catch myself overthinking or underacting, I actually put on music and I start to interrupt that negative pattern by listening to EDM music. You can turn on old 70s music. I love Aretha Franklin. I love the song Respect because it reminds me, try it. It'll remind you of that feeling of moving and dancing and taking action. And it reminds you of respecting yourself. And that by remaining stagnant, we drowned. So you don't have to make music by only thinking about the perfect note, right? You make it by integrating the notes you've composed, you've thought of. What you think of once then has to come into actualization by acting out and bringing it into our reality. And you play all the notes, my friends. Aretha Franklin models her strength and her respect for herself through her music. She acts by belting out the notes of her powerful music through her energy. And it can ignite you and me, whatever that ignition is for you, to do the same. So the next time you are procrastinating, the next time you're waiting for the perfect thing just to take that action and you realize that it's just a veil, put on some tunes. Create a visual reminder to prompt you to get into action. Take that small step. It's that one step closer to your vision, your best relationship, your next dollar earned. This is all an experiment. Use music, inspiration, whatever it is, visualization, to start to embody that frequency of who you choose to become, the desire that you have, and that you can be of excellence, but also be excellent in moving. You can create a more positive energy and you can have success. So with the last quote, and thank you for being with me here today. This quote is from Tina Roth Eisenberg. And it's, I want to be remembered as a person who wasn't afraid to start things. So with that said, my friends, all of my love, all of my light to all of you ADDers, to all of you perfectionists that are going to be perfectionists no more. It's just an identity that we give to explain the energy in our body. And to HSPs, to all of you, just simple human beings with no label at all. These are constructs, but now they're better understood when they're voiced through, felt through the body. And just allow yourself now to just imagine in your mind's eye, floating on that beautiful ocean, just floating with me in the cosmos. And what I want you to do is I want you to take one commitment of one small action you'll do right now to whatever it is that you desire. All right. That is it, my loves. Until next time, stay sane, get sleep, and bring your sexy back. Well, hello, Awaken Beauty. Thank you so much for joining the show today. Were you inspired? Please leave a comment or your own personal aha moment so others can capture exactly what you did. Also, please like and subscribe wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And if you're interested in high quality natural products for your hair, skin, and wellness, including organic CBD, please visit evoquebeauty.com. Again, that is evoquebeauty.com, evoquebeauty.com. And until next time, darling, stay sane, get sleep, and bring your sexy back.